Where did it all begin for the rebels? Big question, right? I'm asked that question in one way or another pretty often, and people just want to know how, what, why, when, and I love to talk about it. Maybe if we publish this interview, it will be out there forever, right? So the rebels. It's important to know that it didn't start as the rebels. That name came much later, which I'll explain a little later. Um, I was working as a coach, as a consultant, as a dedicated consultant for a big firm here in the Mid Atlantic area of the United States in the spring, late winter or spring of 2017, and I was on LinkedIn and I came across this character that was having these conversations and just talking to the camera about things that had to do with restoration and more importantly with claims management and things like that, and just some of the topics around that. And you know, I come from a different background, and it didn't really, I didn't see things exactly like Andy McCabe is who I'm talking about. I was watching Andy McCabe with claims delegates, and I didn't have the same problems that he was talking about. But what I liked was he has a book or a downloadable book and worksheet called 24 Hour Tech, and I bought that. It was for sale on Amazon, and I purchased it. And I still to this day, I think it's an incredible piece of content and lesson and a fundamental and valuable piece. I'm very, very, very glad that he made it. And somehow got in touch with him, kind of sent him a private message and LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I like your videos, and I like this thing that I bought." And he's like, "Great." And we started to have a conversation about some of the things he was talking about, and that led over to let's schedule a meeting to have a phone call. And I remember that night very, very well. The night we had our first phone call, I live in a very rural area outside of town, 20 acres. I have a house has a driveway that's about 150 yards long. And I remember our conversation being 2 to 3 hours long. And I probably, if I were to ask Apple or Fitbit how many steps I got in there, they would say a lot. But I paced up and down my driveway having this conversation, and it was such a sense of enlightenment that we just had a click. And I had some experiences from where I was at, and then he obviously had his own. And we started talking about these large, big chunks of topical things that we thought that a lot more people needed to know. And I think, yeah, I just said something like, this industry is continuing to operate kind of in the way that it always has, or at least it has for the last, at this time, 2017, the last 10 years or 15 years. I said, we need a reboot. And I immediately went to think of like a little brand label of Restoration 2.0. We need a 2.0 version of how this operates. And that was the beginning of what we started to put this all together.